In 1996, in Ellensburg, Washington, a man was holding his dead dog. The man threw the dog's body into a large hole. Shockingly, the dog later appeared alive and well in front of his house. Shortly after, a revelation was made on a radio talk show.
The reason the dog came back to life was that the hole is a gateway to hell.
The hole where the man threw his dog was said to be a devil's hole. This so-called Devil's Hole was introduced in February 1997 on the famous American paranormal radio talk show Coast to Coast AM, a mysterious pit with no known depth. In 1993, Mel Waters and his wife purchased land in Ellensburg, Washington. On their property, there was a mysterious hole. The pit, 9 feet 9 inches in diameter, was so deep that even in broad daylight, its bottom could not be seen. Mel began investigating the hole's origin, but discovered only that, for decades, the hole had been used by the community to dispose of difficult-to-manage waste, broken appliances, and other junk. However, no one knew who had created the hole or when it was made. Mel had one puzzling thought. Despite years of being used as a dumping ground, the hole never seemed to fill up or become blocked. Intrigued by this, Mel decided to return to the site to measure the depth of the hole. He obtained some fishing line and attached a weight to the end, lowering it into the hole. However, even after letting out all the line, the weight never touched the bottom. Eventually, Mel gave up on measuring further, but astonishingly, the depth they had measured reached a staggering 4.6 kilometers. However, that wasn't the only astonishing thing. Strange phenomena began occurring within the hole. While experimenting, Mel noticed that his dogs wouldn't come anywhere near the hole. Even when forced, the dogs would dig their feet in. There were no animals of any kind near the hole, no wildlife, no insects. Birds even flew around it. Additionally, Mel's friend, Brian, was looking for a place to bury his hunting dog after it died. Instead of burying it, he decided to throw the dog's body into Mel's hole. That night, the dog was seen wandering around in front of Brian's house, looking completely normal. He knew it was his dog because it was wearing the same gold collar. However, for some reason, it acted as if it didn't recognize its owner at all. When Brian tried to approach, the dog ran away and never returned. Hearing Brian's story, a local farmer decided to throw a dead calf into the hole. Astonishingly, that night, the calf also reappeared on the farm, seemingly alive. However, the next day, the farmer claimed that the calf was dragged away by a two-legged creature with goat-like footprints. As these bizarre occurrences continued, the townspeople began to believe that a demon was emerging from the hole to resurrect the dead animals, only to take them back again. As a result, they started calling the hole the Devil's Hole. Ultimately, Mel reported these mysterious happenings connected to the hole on Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell on February 21st, 1997.
After the show, on Friday night, I went out there and noticed there was some helicopter activity around the property. There was further helicopter activity the next day. And so I figured that clearly somebody out there listens to your program.
After the broadcast, Mel revealed that even more strange occurrences began happening around the hole. If Mel brought a radio near the hole, the signal would get very staticky and then start picking up broadcasts from somewhere else, or old-time music. He goes to change the channel and tunes into a baseball game.
Point behind the St. Louis first baseman. Went on second, 2 outs.
Until he learns the game was played in 1967, 30 years ago. Mel said that a neighbor saw a dark beam coming out of the hole and up through the clouds, darker than anything he'd ever seen. Callers had their own theories. Maybe the hole was sitting on a ley line and there was a portal to another dimension. Or it was a portal through time, and that's why everything thrown into it disappeared. One caller thought this could be a tunnel to the hollow earth. Someone from the audience reminded Mel that calling into the show is a big mistake because obviously the government is listening. So the show ends and Mel agrees to come back for an update. However, on the day Mel is scheduled to reappear, he's a no-show and not picking up his phone. In April 2000, after 3 years of silence, Mel Waters reappeared and revealed shocking information on the radio. The government had offered Mel $3 million a year to lease the land where Mel's hole was located, with the condition that he leave the United States immediately. Due to pressure from government agents, Mel had no choice but to leave for Australia, and he only returned to the US 2 years later. However, upon returning, Mel claimed he was kidnapped at the airport, and when he awoke, found himself in San Francisco, with 12 days having passed. He realized his arm hurt, with needle marks and tape residue indicating an IV had been used. The land where Mel's hole was located had been taken over by the government, and his bank accounts were frozen. Mel promises to return with evidence, recording, photos, videos. He hangs up and the show ends. However, Mel is never heard from again. He doesn't respond to Art's calls, and eventually the line is disconnected. So after 5 years, the story of Mel's hole finally comes to an end. But it left so many questions. Art does say that a TV crew was in the area looking for the hole. They didn't find it, but they did find evidence of a lot of military activity, and the no-fly zone has been mysteriously expanded to cover the area. In fact, TerraServer, which was a mapping site before Google Earth, showed that the whole area was blacked out. Skeptical callers said that Mel could have found the blacked-out part of the map and pretended his property was there. The problem with that is, TerraServer launched 6 months after Mel made the first phone call. Also, State Department of Natural Resources geologist Jack Powell suggests that the hole does not exist and is geologically impossible. A hole of the depth claimed would collapse into itself under the tremendous pressure and heat from the surrounding strata. The actual site of Mel's hole has never been found, at least not yet. There's no record of anyone named Mel Waters living in the area, but some have claimed he was using a pseudonym to protect his identity. One major issue that undermines the credibility of the story is the absence of photographs. In every call, Art asks for pictures, but Mel often doesn't think to take any or simply forgets, which seems absurd. At other times, he claims that cameras don't work near the hole due to interference, or he says he has pictures and recordings but doesn't have them available to send right away. However, in Mel's defense, he never plugs anything. Even if this were a hoax, he could have made a lot of money selling t-shirts, books, or photographs. Whether Mel's hole actually exists, whether it was covered up by the US government, or whether any of the mysteries surrounding the hole are true, none of these questions have been clearly answered, remain shrouded in mystery. This was Mystic Shadow,